Hello and welcome to the first official episode of the Even Stevens Ranked podcast. I'm Brittany Butler.
I'm Ethan Brim.
And today we are here to talk about the first episode that ever aired of Even Stevens, Season 1, Episode 1, Swap.com. Like I said in the introduction episode, we're going to preface all of these podcast episodes with where each of us ranked whatever episode we're covering on our respective lists. So I have this episode ranked number 47 of 65. And Ethan, you have this...
At 49, yeah?
Yeah, at 49. Yeah. So not far off, literally only one episode in between. So hopefully this is some neutral ground for us to kick this off on. Hopefully, yeah. So for anyone listening right now, to jog your memory about what this episode is all about, the IMDb synopsis says Lewis trades the school nerd, and school nerd is capitalized. like S and N are capitalized.
Like it's a proper noun.
School nerd is an official title.
Yeah, it's his name.
The school nerd Ernie Morton, a date with his popular sister for a rare CCG card. I never called them CCG cards.
What does CCG stand for?
Collectible card game card.
Oh, okay. That's redundant.
Yes, it seems a little, yeah. I was like, yeah, just say trading card. Like, that's fine. On IMDb, this episode has a rating of a 7.5. And we were talking about this before we started recording. It's actually listed twice on IMDb. One is under the title swap.com and the other one is under the title pilot. And they have two completely different ratings too. The one that's labeled pilot has an 8.5, I think, and swap.com has a 7.5. They have the same synopsis, but all the information otherwise under the pilot entry has all of the information from the last episode of season 1, which is the true pilot, which obviously we will get to later. But we're not talking about that one today. We are talking about this one, which, this one is, it's whatever.
You know what? I didn't realize how much of this episode I have memorized until I just watched it. I was like, I was basically quoting, I'd say 80% of the episode as I was watching it.
Yep.
I've seen it so many times.
I think we all have.
Maybe, and that might affect my rating a little bit because I mean, I've seen them all a bunch of times, but being the first broadcast episode, it by nature has been played more than probably any other episode.
Yeah, I know. I'm definitely with you on that. And I feel like that probably influenced how I felt a lot as well. I'm going to check what I said at the end of my review just to remind myself a little bit. Yeah, so my general thoughts here were pretty much that it's like a safe and predictable sort of plot line. It's like, it's not horrible, but it's nothing super, super special. It's sort of middle of the road, kind of generic, kind of like, it doesn't really feel like Even Stevens yet. Because of course it was still the beginning. In production order, though, right? We have to address the production order of these episodes, too, I think. This is number 2 in production order.
Yeah, so it was basically the second episode.
Yeah, it's super rough, in my opinion. The first season is special in that way, though, that it is so rough. That's something I really like about the first season. Yeah. But in this episode, it's like it doesn't really know what kind of show it wants to be yet, and it's not entirely that funny either. Like like it's not. Yeah, it doesn't really do what you'd expect of an Even Stevens episode.
It actually, I think it starts off really strong with him in the classroom on the computer talking to Ernie. I think the whole mall sequence, it kind of loses its traction a little bit.
Right. The big thing for me is that this is such a strange episode to pick for the first episode to air.
Yeah, I've always thought that too. I actually, last night when I rewatched this, I think I actually can kind of see certain points where it would make sense. Maybe not the most sense, but out of all the episodes, I was trying to watch it as though I knew it was the pilot, as though like I was watching it for the first time, which is hard. But it kind of introduces Ren before she's even on screen for the first time.
Right.
Like Twitty says, we're talking Ren here.
Yep.
She calls you a slug.
Because she loves me right down to the ground.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make the most sense, but I don't know. I could see it. If I watched it on TV as the pilot, I'd be like, okay, feels like it maybe is the second or third episode, but it doesn't feel like the first episode, but I don't know. I think if they were going through and picking all the episodes besides the actual pilot, I could see how they would land on this out of the first few of them at least.
I still feel...
Really? You don't think so?
Then it's something I noticed about the first season in particular is that there are so many one-off characters. Like when I was looking through some of it,
there are.
Like especially the first few episodes. And it's weird to me that they would do that, especially for the first one. It just never made sense to me.
The one-off character is weird for a pilot episode or a pilot episode.
Because obviously it is about Lewis and Ren, but we have Ernie Morton in the middle of this whole thing, and he's so gross, and he's just there, and I'm like, what a terrible first impression. I mean, wow, like, yeah, if I would be like, I hope this guy is not going to be on it every week. So why don't we start from the top here?
Okay.
So this opens in a class where I say, what the heck class is this? Because this is ahead of the times. Because the teacher says, open the World Atlas application.
Yeah, they have computers.
They have computers, but he's talking about apps. Like,
yeah.
He's like, open the World Atlas app, basically. I'm like, before there were apps for everything.
That's a good point.
And I'm like, this is weird. I feel like this was just a total plot device so that Lewis could be talking to Ernie on the computer.
Oh, yeah.
Because back in the day, the only time you were on one of those ridiculously huge computers was for computer class. Like, you know, like you didn't have computers in your geography class. Like,
no way.
That didn't happen. So pretty much, yeah. So Lewis is in this computer geography class, whatever, and he's talking to some person about a trading card, but we don't know this yet. And the teacher is talking about Afghanistan, and the very first actual dialogue in the series between our characters here, Lewis shouts yes about Afghanistan, but of course it's not about Afghanistan. And Twitty says, dude, it's just Afghanistan. What's the big deal?
That's great.
And that's like the first basically official line of the series, which I think is a pretty good starting line, honestly.
And it's great how everyone's sleeping in class except for Lewis.
Of course.
And then like he's super excited on his computer just typing away and stuff. Yeah. It was a great just juxtaposition. I like that a lot.
Oh, yeah. And this teacher, by the way, I feel like I've seen this guy in everything ever.
He's in a bunch of stuff, yeah.
And I looked him up, but I didn't really recognize anything he's been in. But then I realized I think he just looks like the old man from the Six Flags commercials.
Oh, he kind of does, yeah. A little bit.
Like, I think that's where I thought I knew him from.
He's in a couple Even Stevens episodes.
Oh, yeah. He's in this one, and he's in Family Picnic. Might be in another one, I don't know. So we get a shot of the screen of Lewis's computer, which shows us how far we've come with internet browsers from 2000. And also, I'm assuming, actually, that this episode must have been filmed in, like, 99, maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
Because a lot of websites say that the show ran from 99 to 2003. So I'm assuming some of the earlier episodes must have been filmed in 99, I guess. That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah. So
Lewis is on the internet and he's talking to some person about this trading card that is obviously supposed to be a Pokemon card. But, you know, Disney, I guess, doesn't have Pokemon money or Pokemon rights to use that name, you know. So it's just a Roaring Drycon card, which is a trading card. And he's talking to some guy. And we see that the guy is capital S, capital N, school nerd. Ernie Morton, who's nasty, greasy, eating food in class, just being generally disgusting. And he's the one who has this card and is willing to trade it. And Lewis asks him, this is very creepy, Lewis asks him, what do you want? In all caps, by the way, which is kind of...
super yelling, excited.
Yeah. So he asks him, what do you want? And I'm obviously assuming that Ernie wrote a date with your sister, ... But they just zoom in on it and they only show us your sister.
Yeah.
That is disturbing. What do you want? Your sister, ... So Ernie asked for a date with his sister, Ren. And Lewis is like,
why couldn't he just ask for something easy? Like my mom's Volvo.
This is our very first Boy Meets World-nection. So this is a segment where we are going to point out any connections, similarities, parallels between Even Stevens and Boy Meets World, because there's a lot and we can never think of them off the top of our heads, apparently, but they happen a lot. So I didn't make this connection until I read your ranking every Boy Meets World episode ever article, Ethan. For one of the episodes, you picked a best line, and it was from Corey, and he said,
It's really pretty. What is it?
I don't know. It came with my mom's Volvo.
I was like, holy crap, those lines are way, like, that seems like too specific to be a coincidence.
Yeah, I like how both you, I noticed that too, and I think it's weird that you and I we know Even Stevens so well that we both noticed that they, that Lewis's mom has a Volvo.
And that they just both said the same line.
Yeah, basically.
Essentially, you know. I thought that was too coincidental, so I did a little digging, and I thought that this was very interesting. So this episode was written by Eric Van Loo, and Eric produced an ABC TGIF show called Where I Live with none other than Michael Jacobs.
Oh, no way.
Who wrote and produced Boy Meets World.
Oh, that's cool.
So clearly the guy who wrote this episode and the writer and producer of Boy Meets World are friends to some degree, I would assume, if they work together on a show. So something tells me that, who knows, maybe they were like, haha, that's a good line. Like, I'll throw that into the show I'm writing right now. Like,
that's awesome.
But I thought that was a definite connection there. So,
hey, you know what my first car was?
A Volvo?
A Volvo. I still have it.
Badunts.
Yeah. No, it really is. I still really have it.
No, I know, but you were just like, no, my first car was a Volvo. Anyway, yeah, so that was a Boy Meets World-nection. Yeah, so that is the opening of this episode, which sort of sets the plot in motion, which, you know, leads us to Twitty and Lewis in the hall. You know, they're talking, and Twitty is so impressed that he got the new kid, Ernie Morton, you know, set that in stone so we know what we're talking about. I always hate it when people say the plot out loud.
Oh, yeah, the exposition.
Yeah, it just always seems a little forced.
Oh, yeah.
Then he finds out that Lewis had to trade a date with his sister, and we haven't met Ren yet. While they're in the hallway at school, those two girls come up to Twitty, and Lewis says, "What's up?"
Classic.
You know, 1990 whatever Budweiser commercial. Because that was a cultural thing.
Hello? What's that? What's up?
I was obsessed with those commercials, by the way.
Yeah.
I think I have a file on my hard drive. It has that entire saga of commercials.
Saga. It's perfect.
Oh, man, I love those commercials. I used to quote them nonstop.
Well, you did want to be Lewis. Yeah. So it does make sense.
Yeah, and that was even before Even Stevens. So, I mean, Lewis and I are just kindred spirits.
Yep, you got it like that. Which is actually what he says in this scene. Well, I got it like that.
I got it like that.
So then we meet quickly in the hallway as well. It transitions to Ren and her placeholder best friend Jewel, this like little Asian girl.
They don't say her name until the end of the episode, so the whole time I'm like, what was her name again? Oh, Jewel.
Really?
They say it at the very end. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't even catch that. That's funny because I watched the series so much that I just know her name.
Yeah, I couldn't remember.
Realize.
She's only in this and What'll Idol Do, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then she disappears, and then Ren gets a different friend, and Charlotte. Then she disappears. Yeah. Which is so funny, too, because Ren is supposed to be popular, yet she doesn't really have any friends. Like, we don't see any of her friends, really, until the end of this season, when they officially bring in solid friends for her. So we see, this is important though, we see Ren checking the bulletin board or whatever for the updated scores or hours that people have put in for Student Volunteer of the Month. So we see that this girl, Adrienne Dunmore, who we never hear of ever again, has more volunteer hours done already than Ren. And of course, this is not going to fly with Ren because she needs to be perfect at everything. So she needs, come hell or high water, to get more service volunteer hours in than Adrienne Dunmore. So this is also setting the plot in motion here. We're setting everything up. So then it cuts to the Stevens house for Ren's birthday. And I have to say, I think this whole scene is the highlight of the episode.
Oh, I agree. I agree. I love this scene.
This is the highlight. I think this is where you're seeing actual shades of Even Stevens.
Yeah, just Lewis sitting on the couch, on the chair, eating the cake, the food, yep. in the bib.
Yeah,
that's classic. Just the faces he makes. His hair just like curling over his ears. Just oh man,
he just perfect. Looks all disheveled.
Yeah.
Yeah, literal mouthful of cake, can barely speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just the dialogue in this scene, everything from Donnie giving Ren nothing but a bunch of conceited photos of himself for her gift, and Ren getting her electronic organizer, which is so funny because we have phones for that now. Our phones do everything. We don't need electronic organizers. Technology is the only dated thing really in this show. Technology and the fashion is really the only things that are super dated.
Because even the music's kind of jazzy, so it was already kind of from behind its time already. So even the music doesn't really feel dated, I don't think. Like the background music.
That's funny that you mentioned the background music though, because I was going to save this for later, but the background music in this episode for the most part doesn't have the swing jazz stuff that Even Stevens is really different. Known for, in my opinion, because the theme song is super swing jazzy, and then the transition music and background music throughout the rest of the series is typically the same, but here there's a lot of generic sort of weird little sound effects,
stock stuff.
Yeah, like really generic little bleep boop beep boo da da, like little. That's my wonderful impression.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Music that it just doesn't feel right. But in this scene, they do have music that is perfect. When Ren asks to see Lewis's gift.
Lewis. Can't wait to see your lovely gift.
I think it's funny. Like he's in 7th grade, but. Like, how much money does he possibly have to get rid of it? Like, wouldn't his like, I mean, when I was that young, my parents would kind of let me borrow some money so I could buy a gift. You know what I mean? Or they'd even buy it for me at that age for like whoever it is.
Oh yeah.
So I just think it's funny that the parents just had no, they have no part in this at all.
Like everyone just stares at him, just waiting. Like, okay, 13-year-old boy, what did you buy with your $1 a day allowance?
And she expects it. She's like, you better have gotten me a gift.
Oh god. But yeah, so this is definitely the highlight of the episode in my opinion. Like everything from just that quick music to Lewis to the family to just everything going on right here. This is like what Even Stevens does best. Dysfunctional family interaction. It's just perfect in this scene. It really is.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so moving on from that, Lewis realizes he has to find a way to get Ren to hang out with this horrible kid at the mall, and obviously that's not going to happen. Like Ren Stevens is not going to hang out with this kid. So what does he come up with? He comes up with the brilliant idea, and it is kind of brilliant, I gotta give it to him, but it's also so wrong. To I don't know if this would fly today, to capitalize on Ren's utter and desire to get in those volunteer hours. He capitalizes on that, and that's his way in. He tells Ren that he knows this very needy boy named Ernie Morton, who's part of the Adopt a Friend program at school, which of course Ren would already know about this program if it existed.
Yeah, why would Lewis know about this?
Yeah, why would Lewis know what's going on with these school programs? Yeah, no, that would not happen. But yeah, so he knows about the non-existent Adopt a Friend program and tells Ren about it. He lures her in by saying, I'm sure Adrian Dunmore would want to do this. And of course, Ren being Ren, she's like, that's all I need to know to want to do this. And so basically, Lewis's plan is he tricks Ren into thinking that Ernie is this super needy, basically like an orphan probably, kind of, that's in desperate need of a friend for a day, for just a few hours, It's community service to just hang out with this kid, which is just so bad. It's like, the more I thought about it, the more I just started dying laughing.
Yeah. And then she's like, you can talk to me about anything. And then he's like, yeah, great. Okay, whatever.
As if he literally has like a developmental problem. Yes. I'm like, this is terrible.
Yeah. He doesn't speak a different language. He's
Oh,
She's
God.
talking all slow and stuff.
Let's fast forward to that. So what we're talking about basically is when Ren first meets Ernie at the mall. So their plan is to meet up at the mall and sort of just hang out for like 4 hours, I think, because that's how many service hours she needs to get in. And as I said in my review, this was one of my favorite lines I ever wrote on my blog, was that if this was The Bachelorette, Ernie Morton would not receive the first impression rose.
Definitely not.
This guy shows up for his date with popular girl Ren Stevens in a filthy shirt with every stain known to man on it. It's half untucked. He's wiping his hands on his shirt. He's a total grease ball. Like, it's disgusting. And he's just like, wow, with a mouthful of food. Ren Stevens. Yeah, wow, that's a great first impression. So what we were saying, Ren sees Ernie, and given, what she's seeing and what she knows about this Adopt a Friend program for community service, she treats Ernie like he has something wrong with him. So she talks to him as if he can't understand what she's saying, and, that she'll be like his best buddy, basically.
Ernie, I just want you to know that you can talk to me about anything. I'll be a good friend to you. I listen.
She says, I listen.
I listen, yeah. Oh my God. I mean, Ernie's just over the moon. He doesn't care how Lewis got her on this date. He doesn't care at all. He's just like, this is amazing that she's here with me.
Do you think that Ren would have agreed to it if Lewis had just said, yo, this is my friend. Like, I need you to just spend like an hour with him at the mall?
Like, out of the goodness of her heart?
Yeah, do you think that he could have maybe swung that and made it work at all, or no? I was just thinking about it. Because every time I watch it, I'm like, I wonder if Ren would have agreed to this.
Yeah, that's actually a good question. Because I never really thought about that either. Like, part of me hopes that she would agree to it,
that's what I mean. I don't know.
It's family.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, earlier when he was like, hey, do you want to like get lunch at the mall with me? She's like, no, Lewis, no. I'm like, you won't even go out to lunch with your brother? Oh my God.
Yeah,
so I don't think if he said, hang out with this total creepazoid nerd at the mall. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Yeah. Anyway, so the big climax drama moment happens here when Lewis asks for the trading card, and Ernie says, you'll only get it at the end of the date, after I get my goodbye kiss. And he's so gross, he sticks his tongue out constantly.
He does that tongue thing. Oh my gosh, I hate that tongue thing.
It's so gross. I don't know if this, like, if it was an ad lib on the actor's part, or if someone was just like, be as disgusting as you can. And like, he just said, okay, I'm going to stick my tongue out all the time then.
He does it like 50 times.
It's so nasty. Oh God. So then it goes to a commercial then, or what would have been a commercial. And then it cuts to a montage of Ren and Ernie at the mall. This montage literally lasts like 3 minutes. I kid you not.
It's an okay montage though. I mean, it's kind of entertaining, but it's not. I mean, it's just Ernie being weird. That's the whole thing.
It's like, this is what I meant by the episode being sort of stereotypical. It's that it's like, I feel like you see this stuff in every teen, like, movie, teen rom-com, like, teen everything.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the hat scene. Like, this happens in every single thing ever. And I'm like, why? Does this ever happen? Like, do you ever go on a date with someone?
Where you just try on hats.
And the person just tries on a bunch of hats and you give them the yes or no on the hats.
I liked it because it was like a typical date montage, but with like a weird twist to it where Ernie, instead of being normal throughout it and stereotypical, he was being super weird and like trying on hats that didn't fit him and like baby girl hats and stuff.
I know, that one hat that doesn't even fit on his head. He just puts it on the top of his head and it just sits there.
And that second hat, I was like, I've never even seen a hat that looks like that in my entire life. It was just really
I think it
weird.
was that the football helmet that has the drinks on either side?
No, the one right before that where it's like, it's black and it's like really big on top and the brim was like, I don't even know how to describe it. It looked like I don't know. It was weird.
Wait, I gotta see this. I gotta pull up the episode. Wait. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah,
like,
it's
what
weird.
What is that hat? I've never seen it before.
It's like a baseball hat, but
just
it's
like
either
an exaggerated baseball hat.
Yeah, or like for someone whose head is much bigger than his. I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird.
But Ren says no to that hat. And then the hat with the drinks on either side, he has the tube going up his nose, so that's whatever. Every time I see a hat like that, I just think of that hat from SpongeBob.
Which one?
Where it was like Smitty something something, he was number 1. Or whatever it was.
I kind of remember that.
But yeah, it's a hat that looks like that. Anyway, and then the last hat that Ren approves is this ridiculous hat, but I guess it suits Ernie because he's ridiculous, and it's a ridiculous hat that's just huge and like 70s trippy. I don't even know, but it's ridiculous. But anyway, so he buys that. But this montage, this song that's in the background, come on, we're gonna keep on rocking, come on, honey, you and me, this could be something big. I'm like, this freaking song.
It's always gets stuck in my head after I watch the episode.
Same. And we hear basically the whole song. You know, it's like a stock song, but we hear the whole song.
They have great, just like generic knockoff songs in Even Stevens, like really catchy ones.
Oh, yeah.
Like this is just the first one, but I mean, they have some really good ones along the way.
I wish that all the other ones we heard this much of, though.
Yeah, this isn't the best one, but it's fairly good.
At the end of the montage, Ren and Ernie run into Tawny, and as I was rewatching it, Tawny is not even walking. Like, she's just standing there. She was just on her mark. You know, she was just waiting for them to come.
That reminds me of the one where she's babysitting with Lewis. She's babysitting Twitty's brother, and the doorbell rings, and Lewis goes to open it, and immediately she just walks in. She turns the corner. Like, she doesn't even give her time to even get through the door. It just reminds me of that.
But I think that's just very Tawny, though. She's just like, I'm just going to stand here, or I'm just going to walk in with no regard. So they're like, oh, hey, Tawny. And she's like, I didn't know you guys were friends. And Ren is literally about to blow the thing. She's like, no, Ernie's part of the... And then Lewis comes in and interrupts everything, trying to save it. That was actually a good part that I never really laughed at before, but when he was like, oh, I got some new shoes.
The shoes? Oh, I love that part. Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
And they zoom in on his, quote, new shoes, and they're just old and ratty, and there's that little music that plays, like, boom, ticka, bang, or something. I'm just like, it's too good.
It just shows, like, how necessary Lewis is in the series, too. I mean, you know, because that montage scene obviously is a little slower, and just the whole bit in the mall is a little bit, something's lacking there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, Ernie just can't carry the show himself.
Well, yeah.
As the comedic side, you know what I mean? So with Ren and Lewis together in the same scene, it's great because they kind of play off each other. Like Ren's the straight man, and Lewis is the goofball. But as soon as Lewis comes in that scene where he tries to save the date with the shoes and him trying to hit on Tawny and stuff.
Let's get a corn dog. Yeah. Which Disney is obsessed with corn dogs, by the way. They mention it so many times.
They do, actually.
I always hate to be that person who's all, you know, the show's only extra entertaining when Shia's on the screen.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the case, like, for me. Like he really lights up the screen and brings, like, so much energy to the show. Like, when he's not on the screen, it's like, okay, like, what's going on? Let's get back to what was happening. I mean, would you disagree, or?
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think Lewis is my favorite character in anything ever.
Same.
I mean, for me though, that over the course of the show, they tried adding characters and rounding out characters to kind of fill the gaps when Lewis isn't there, like Tom or even Donnie or Beans. But the first season, definitely they kind of lean on Lewis a lot for comedy.
That's also an important thing to me, the way you said they lean on Lewis in the first season for comedy, because we're getting into a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
Lewis was an aspiring comedian, really in the first season only, and then they sort of drop it as they go along, and then just totally drop that by the time season 3 rolls around. Yeah. But I think that's something that really works about the first season, because I don't know, I haven't said this, but the first season is my favorite season. There's something charming about the fact that it is more rough and unpolished in comparison to season 2 or 3. It feels a little bit more down to earth. It feels super 90s in comparison to the rest of the series, like just from everything, from the colors as well. Everything's a bit more drab and earthy.
It's not as bright. Yeah.
Everything's like a little darker in the first season. Like even the clothes Lewis wears, like his Hawaiian shirts get way bolder as the show goes on. But like in the first season, he wears a lot of like browns, grays, Like, I don't know. That's just something I noticed.
And he has those orange pants that he wears too in the later seasons.
Yeah, he doesn't really wear those in the first season.
There's maybe like 1 or 2 episodes, but
yeah, no, he mainly wears like beige pants or like, I mean, they're still like ridiculous UFO pants, but I mean, they're just not bright orange or whatever bright colors. But yeah, so with leaning on Lewis for the comedy in the first season, it made sense because he wanted to be a comedian. The comedy felt very natural because he was a sarcastic person. He was, that's who he was as a character.
Yeah. And it kind of was cool because it was like, here's this show, just a normal everyday show. And then here's Lewis. His comedy seemed more, it was supposed to be kind of more jarring and like out of place amidst all of this normalcy. Whereas second and third season, it was like, okay, the whole show is going to be just really comedic now. You know what I mean? Instead of just a normal show with one comedian who sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah,
it was the whole show became that in the later seasons, which I liked. But the first season definitely has its own perks and its own charm.
No, that's a really good point. Actually, I never even thought about it that way. Like especially with getting into season 2, like season 2 has some ridiculous moments where it's like, yeah, this show they just went off the rails with this show. Like I don't understand how we went from like even just this first episode or to like what the original pilot was that we see later on, how we went from that to like some of the ridiculous stuff that happens later on. It's just it just makes me wonder like whose decision it was to be like, yeah, this is the show to do this with. Like, you know, like this is the show to really just go all out insane, do just crazy things with. But yeah, we'll definitely be getting into all that as we go. So getting back to the episode, Ren and Ernie's date ends, quote unquote date, and she invites him to take photos with her in the photo booth, which is a super datey thing to do. She thanks Ernie for a wonderful afternoon, and a line that stuck out to me was when she says, "I am getting as much out of this as you are." I was like, that's a little, I don't want to say, not shady, but that's like... It had like a double meaning of like, yeah, I'm getting my hours in, buddy.
Because as far as she knows, Ernie's in on this, right? Like Ernie doesn't know what's going on, but she thinks he does. Like she thinks that he's part of this thing. So her saying that is even more odd because she's basically telling him that I'm getting hours out of this. So thanks. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't know. Yeah, it was a weird line.
And then not only that, it puts her on such a high horse.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, you're getting so much out of your time with me today.
That's true. Like
you are #blessed to be spending these 4 hours with me today, Ernie.
That's a good point. Yeah.
The date ends, and then Ernie just completely scraps what he said about, oh, you'll only get the card after I get a kiss, because apparently Ren saying thank you for a wonderful afternoon was enough for him. Ernie interprets that to mean that she likes him, that the date went well, whatever. He's probably assuming there's going to be a second date. So that's why he assumes, I can give you the card now. Like, I'm sure that kiss is going to happen sometime. So he gives Lewis the card, and Lewis is all super excited at first, and Ernie tells him, well, you earned it, and walks away. And then Lewis is, you see the guilt setting in a little bit, like, did I really earn this card by doing this? And then we get, which is kind of ridiculous, Ren just staring longingly in a shop window at this pearl necklace. Like, she's just staring, and there's this music in the background. And Lewis walks up, and after she walks away and sees that she was looking at this pearl necklace. Long story short, Lewis ends up pawning the Roaring Drycon trading card to get money to buy Ren this pearl necklace for her birthday, which is honestly nice, but at the same time,
I always wanted to know how he knew what exactly she was looking at, because she walks away from the store window, which has a bunch of different pieces of jewelry in the window. I always wondered how he knew that she was looking at that pearl necklace and not like the ring right next to it or like the other necklace next to it.
They zoom in on it, like, so it's like maybe his brain just zoomed in on the necklace,
That's true.
And it is the biggest thing there, so
that's a good point.
Who knows?
Yeah.
So Ren gets to school, and she goes to the guidance counselor, whoever it is, whoever's in charge of this, who she thinks is in charge of this Adopt a Friend program. She goes to this lady and she hands in her hours. She did a whole report on it as well. And then she finds out, oh, this is great. Yeah, this would put you ahead of Adrian Dunmore, except for the fact that there is no Adopt a Friend program. And she's like, wait, I wouldn't have spent all day at the mall with this needy boy, Ernie Morton, if there was no program. She's like, well, you did, and there isn't. So then cut to the hallway.
This is the part that bothered me.
Oh, yeah, this part bothers me and on so many levels.
Yes, on a few levels.
Everyone is wrong. Like, basically, in
Except
this episode.
Ernie Morton, really, if you think about it, and Twitty.
I mean, yeah, kind of. Yeah, Twitty. Twitty's just, he's just that guy. Apparently, Ernie Morton has been telling everyone that him and Ren are, quote, moving in the direction of becoming boyfriend and girlfriend, which is honestly, this is when I say, like, when you said that everyone is in the wrong except for Ernie Morton, this is when I say, no, he is in the wrong too.
But why?
You don't go and do that. Like, you don't.
but he doesn't have social skills. So he thinks, like, these are also 7th graders, remember? Like,
true.
So he's in 7th grade, she's in 8th grade. So, like,
true.
I mean, when you go on a what you think is a date with a girl who you think actually likes you, like, you're telling people, you know what I mean? Especially if that person's popular, like, you get excited and you guys take a picture together, you're showing people the picture. And he never said that they were dating. She even asked him, he said, no, I'm just saying we're kind of moving in that direction. Like, he was very earnest about the, no pun intended, he was earnest about
Ernie was very earnest.
Yeah. I don't know. I really felt from in that moment, he looked kind of gross when he was telling his friends, like, she likes me and stuff. And
he was sticking his tongue out again.
Sticking his tongue out. And then when she confronted him, I don't know. I really felt from that moment. And every time I watch it, I'm like, oh man, like, Ernie doesn't know. He's just this weird kid who doesn't know any better. He's this 12-year-old or whatever. I don't know. Well,
because it's a terrible, terrible scene. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, Ren basically goes up to Ernie and she's like, have you been telling everyone that we're dating? And he says, no. I'm telling everyone we're moving in that direction. And she just goes off on him in front of everyone.
In front of everyone.
Ernie Morton, I wouldn't hang out with you if you were the last boy on Earth. No, I'm sorry, if you were the last boy in the universe. No! If you were the last boy ever.
And then everyone immediately just starts laughing at Ernie, and he's left there in the dust to just stand there. Like, all of his confidence is gone. Like, he's just a puddle of sadness, basically, in the hallway, and just walks away defeated. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
And then Lewis is, like, watching around the corner like, oops, look what I did.
Yeah. And at that moment, and it's kind of ties to the next scene, which kind of bothered me. He feels bad for Ernie, and rightfully so. In the next scene, Ren kind of gets rewarded in the end, and which is fine. I mean, he still did something wrong to Ren, but Ernie just, I don't think, ever gets any redemption in the end. I don't know.
But I mean, he's still nasty. So basically this episode...
he is still nasty, that's true.
So basically this episode ends with probably a scene that most of you will remember. Lewis hears Ren coming up to his room. She's enraged because he knows that she found out about the card and everything that happened. So he finds a quick hiding place, which is to, I hate saying hang himself because that sounds terrible, but to hang himself by his shirt on the back of his door. So you guys probably remember that image of him doing that. I feel like that was on a lot of commercials. As well as the horrible line, which is probably one of the weakest, most obvious go-to lines here. Ren sees him and she says,
"What are you doing back there?" Just hanging out.
But he delivers it so well, though, that you forget how cliche that line is, because he just delivers it really well, I think.
It's just funny because they used that line all the time, and I'm this show is smarter than that.
Yeah. It was a very overused line.
The better line, though, that happens right after that is,
"I have a reputation at school." Well, not anymore. How am I supposed to show my face there again? May I suggest plastic surgery? Ha ha ha.
That's a much better line.
Yeah, that's a great line.
So basically, Lewis traded, he pawned in the money for the card and got Ren this pearl necklace, and he gives it to her, and she's really happy at first, which is kind of nice because, she says that she never gets gifts that she actually wants. Basically, she said she gets pictures of Donnie and practical stuff, but she never gets anything pretty like a necklace, I guess. So she's happy in that regard, but then she's pissed because she knows that Lewis got it with the money from the card. And what gets me mad is at the end, she gives the necklace to Ernie and says, like, this belongs to you. What the heck is he going to do with that? It's just interesting. It's just always annoyed me the way she's like, I think this belongs to you.
That's
like,
true. She gives the necklace back. I thought she's worn that necklace though in other
She
episodes.
did.
Okay.
She did. I pointed that
so.
out. Yep. She wore it in Sibling Rivalry, I think.
Okay.
And she definitely is wearing that same necklace, and I'm like, oops, mistake. She gave that back, definitely. So the episode ends with Ernie asking, he's like, oh, now that we're like, okay, could I just have a hug from one friend to the other? And like, they go to hug, and he set up his friends to take a photo of them embracing. Yeah. And I'm like, that's why I said he's still nasty, so see, I don't care.
I view that as his redemption, though, for what she said to him. So I liked it.
I mean, okay.
I liked it. I thought it was good.
Okay, then. So that's the episode, really. I think, are we finally going to move into some segments here, I guess? So it's time for some trivia.
Is it true? Did you know that...
Is it true that...
What does that mean?
So here is the trivia I have. Okay. Ernie was played by Anthony Birch, who was born on June 17th.
Oh, weird.
Which is the date this episode premiered.
That's really weird.
So I saw that and I was like, maybe that's why they decided to air it first. Anthony Birch's birthday gift was his episode of Even Stevens premiering on TV. So that's pretty interesting. And my other trivia, in the background at the mall, in the scene where we first meet Ernie, the Disney store is right in the background.
Oh, yeah. I know, I know what you're talking about.
And so it's like, I wonder if that was intentional. Like, let's make sure we got the Disney in the background.
It probably was. I bet you it was.
It probably was.
I also have a trivia about the mall. Okay. So it was filmed at West Side Pavilion in Los Angeles.
It was?
Yeah, which is actually a different mall that they used for Quest for Coolness, because that mall was...
Yeah, Quest for Coolness was the South Bay Galleria.
Yeah, it was in Redondo Beach, right? I think it was, yeah.
Yep.
I always thought it looked different, but I never was quite sure. But it's also the same mall. Have you seen Clueless? It's the same mall from Clueless.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. And then the other bit of information, I discovered, maybe I knew this years ago, but I didn't remember this, that Ren originally auditioned for the part of Tawny.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Oh, God. Every time I think about that, I want to, like, throw up.
Oh, my God. Well, yeah, especially because Ren looks so much older than Lewis. And I don't think it would have really worked. And she's taller too, so
yeah, I can't even imagine that dynamic between them. Oh God,
it's like incest.
Oh yeah. So I guess that's it for trivia.
I actually had that Hawaiian shirt that he wears at the end. That was the one I had.
The one
where he's hanging on the door.
No, I have that one too.
Oh yeah. Is that the same one you have?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, see, we're weirdos, guys, and we have Hawaiian shirts that Lewis wore in the series. Yeah, we're weird like that. So, like, I have 3 Hawaiian shirts of his, not the ones Shia wore, obviously, just the same shirt. And I guess you have that same one, too. I've been considering going as a female Louis Stevens for Halloween, since I basically have the shirt from Influenza, and that's one of his most iconic looks. I might do that up. I might get some bright orange neon shorts and do it up. Like just. So if you're listening to this, tell me, should I go as Louis Stevens for Halloween? Yes or no? Is it creepy? Yes or no? Okay.
We'll post a poll on Twitter.
Yeah, I'll post a poll on the Instagram story. Yeah.
Any plot holes, like gaping ones that you wrote down or took note of or anything like
None that really stood out to me, but I'm terrible at finding that stuff.
There's one that always bothered me since I was a kid. So when he's hanging on the door and Ren opens it, the door is noticeably going to be like 100 pounds heavier.
Oh, yeah.
Yet she like doesn't think twice about, you know what I mean? When you have someone hanging on the door, it's going to be extremely heavy.
She just flings that door wide open like it's nothing.
Yeah, that's the only one I noticed. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So, Ethan, do you have a best quote, a best line from this episode?
I have like one that I think is like the best written line. Like I just liked it. But then there's another one that I just liked how he delivered it better. But I don't think it's as good of a line necessarily. My favorite line was man, tell 20 or 30 lies and right away you're a bad guy.
That was going to be mine.
I like that one. I think that's the best written line. Okay, so mine was I was just commenting that it's amazing how your favorite continent is my favorite continent too. I just loved how he just delivered that line.
The good line, The other good line after that, though, is when he's like, maybe we could explore this further. No, that's okay. I'll just wait for the movie.
Let's wait for the movie, yeah. Okay. That's a good one.
That's a good one, but that's not my line.
Okay, that's not yours. Okay, gotcha.
Mine has got to be, I got it over the internet. These things just don't pop out of the screen. Oh my God. This is like the way he says it. He has a mouthful of cake.
Can't wait to see your lovely gift.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have to.
Oh, Lou, not again.
No, not again. Of course not. I got her something.
Why don't you just give it to me?
Because, got it over the internet. And, these things don't just pop out of the screen.
So for some comments and some other stuff here, I found this article that was written by Variety back in 2000 when the episode premiered. They got like a sneak preview of it or something, and then they wrote this review. It was by Carol Horst. So, hey, Carol. So the description that she wrote says, judging by the one allotted episode for review, the Disney Channel's new original series, Even Stevens, is okay. It mines the young teen territory that Nickelodeon rules and is amiable enough, but leads Shia LaBeouf and Christy Carlson Romano should start plotting the rest of their careers, as these two young thesps bring polish and excellent timing to the material.
Yeah.
They just give a little rundown of the episode a little bit. Then they also go on to say little is done with the other major characters, as Lewis and Ren take center stage in this and shine. LaBeouf is like a preteen Gary Shandling.
Wow, I love Gary Shandling.
And indeed, his character has posters of Seinfeld's Kramer and Jay Leno in his room, underlining Lewis's sensibilities. Romano comes off like a junior Wendy Malick, snooty and human and entertaining to watch.
Christy was great in this episode.
Yeah.
I think I when I was watching, I was like, wow, she just delivers her lines really well. Mm-hmm. I mean, she always does, but she's really good in this episode too. Like, might be one of her best episodes. Mm-hmm. Just as far as her just deliveries, and even just when she's like, he's like, can I ask you a question? And she said, you just did.
You just did, bye.
Everything she said, like, she just really, I really enjoyed her performance in this one.
So we got an Instagram comment from someone about this episode that I thought I should read. It's from Layla Burns, and she says, I never watched Even Stevens growing up, but I did watch this episode when Disney played a bunch of the first episodes of their shows in January 2016. I thought that was interesting because did you catch that? It was called Firsts on the First.
Yeah, I knew it was happening. I don't think I ended up watching those. Something was going on.
Yeah, I was like sick that day.
Oh, yeah.
I was having trouble sleeping, and so I stayed up and watched Swap.com on the TV, actually on Disney Channel, and it was weird. She says, one joke that stuck with me was when Lewis was stuck to the door and told Ren he was, quote, just hanging out. I just found that one really funny for some reason. I want to watch more of the show soon because it seems like the type of show I'd enjoy, and I'll be keeping up with your podcast. So nice. I thought that was nice. Thanks, you that Layla. Little shout out, Layla. Thank you. And I hope you do check out more of the show because it is a freaking awesome show.
Yeah.
So for our last little segment here, I found just a few tweets. I'm trying to make an effort to sort of find funny tweets related to whatever episode we're talking about. Since the show isn't all that popular, it's a bit of a dig to try to find stuff. But I found one that was from back in March. Someone was live tweeting the Oscars and said, why does Timothée Chalamet have the same hair as that greasy kid from Even Stevens? And they put a side-by-side photo comparison of Timothée Chalamet on the red carpet next to Ernie sitting at the computer, all disgusting. Yeah.
Did they hashtag Ernie Morton? How did you find that?
Oh, I just type in any keywords I can find. So I literally typed in, like, greasy kid, Even Stevens.
Oh, wow.
Because I assumed someone must have called him that at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that tweet is from Kaylee Davis. I'm pretty sure I'll retweet that one once we're done recording this.
That's a good one.
Then we have another one, which I just thought was kind of funny. This guy at Mac Lowry, he said, yo, the first episode of Even Stevens is on, and I forgot they had an older brother, F. He just
That leads me to my one YouTube comment on swap.com. Most of them were just like, oh, I love the show. But this one just simply says, WTF is this? That was it. I was like, you've never heard of it,
or like you're just so disgusted by what you saw. Like, what is going on?
Why are you so upset about this episode?
Oh, that's great. Did you have an MVP for this episode or no?
I mean, I'm gonna put. I mean, most of my MVP is probably gonna be Lewis, but to pick somebody outside of the norm, you know what? I'm gonna pick Ernie Morton.
Oh wow! I love the way my voice cracked there. I was like, oh wow.
Or actually, Twitty's a good one too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, literally on my notes here, everyone is in the wrong, to be honest. Ren used Ernie, Lewis used Ren, Ernie used Ren, kind of, for his like own popularity and gain and stuff. And so then when I went down to think of an MVP, I wrote MVP. Donnie? Twitty? Honestly, no one.
Honestly, well, they're not in it enough either. I mean, Donnie's great though too.
Oh yeah. So, there anything else you want to add to this?
I just wanted to say, so the director Paul Hone, who directed this episode, he also directed True Confessions with Shia and You Wish with AJ Trouth, who plays Twitty.
And that's interesting, though, because he still directs for the Disney Channel today.
Yeah, he directed that Andy Mack show, didn't he?
Yeah, so he's done a lot of episodes of Andy Mack. He's done a lot of DComs.
He did some old Nickelodeon. He did Alan Strange and Secret World of Alex Mack, I think, too.
Okay. He was all up in the kids programming, man.
Yeah.
He did a lot of stuff.
And he directed 5 Even Stevens episodes.
It's weird, though, because I thought he directed more than just 5.
I don't know. It's
like,
what
I feel like
said.
I feel like I see his name way more often, or maybe I just watched a lot of those episodes more than I don't know. But yeah. So is that everything?
I think so.
I guess that about wraps up our first actual episode discussion of an episode. And I wanted to just put it out there to you guys. Anyone listening to this right now, we do have a listener letters segment. So if you want to get deep, like a lot of the emails we got in our introduction episode, please feel free to do that by sending an email to evenstevensranked@gmail.com. But if you don't want to get all deep like that, you don't have to. Like, you can literally send us anything you want. It doesn't have to be related to whatever episode we're covering that week or whatever. You can just send us any thoughts you might have on the show. I run evenstevensranked.com through Tumblr, so if you just go to the website, click ask, you can send an anonymous message if you want. If you don't want to, send an email with your email or something, tweet us. You could write on Instagram, anything you want, and we will talk about it in whatever our next thing we're recording is. And maybe sometime we could even do a whole episode of just comments and emails and questions and stuff. That could be fun.
Like listener topics.
Yeah. That could be interesting. Any last things you want to say, Ethan, as we sign off here?
Check out the show where you can find it. I know it's not super easy to find, but, try Dailymotion, YouTube. If some episodes you have to find worse quality, but some of them are out there if you really do some digging.
Yeah, so be sure to do that so you can watch along and listen, and hopefully this will be a good time. This was fun. Again, thank you guys so much for listening. Again, of course, for all things Even Stevens Ranked and Even Stevens, you can follow at Even Stevens Ranked or at Even Stevens Rank on all of the socials, really, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Be sure to do that for updates, throwbacks, all that good stuff. Looking forward to the next episode, which is going to be Season 1, Episode 2, Steven's Jeans, which is definitely one of my favorites. I'm looking forward to it. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See you next time.